surcharge to China to 125%, effective immediately. Conversely, he says he has a, quote, authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lower reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Do you have any concerns of how things are playing out from this whiplash that we've seen over the past week?
Well, they've been busy, haven't they? But I mean, it's a fluid situation. If somebody wants to know why the stock market does what it does, God bless them, because I sure don't. Why it got up to 44,000 during some very challenging economic times, don't know, but I guess those folks do. The fact that this started last Thursday, I think it was, with the announcement in the Rose Garden, and I was telling people, all I know is it's volatile. So before you go thinking about, hurting yourself or celebrating or anything like that, why don't we just wait for a week? Well, it hasn't been a week yet, and we've been from, 44 to 37, 36, bond stuff going on, all that other sort of stuff. So I think, just speaking for myself, it's like, let's just see how things look, my God, maybe even just on Friday, and see what some of that is. But if you're looking for stability in the last 5 days, I don't know where that's at, but it hasn't been around this neighborhood.
Do you agree with how the president has handled the situation?
Well, let me put it to you this way. When they say we've had so much input from people, obviously other than China, we've had so much input that, we're going to need some time to go ahead and work that out with Japan or with Australia or with Vietnam or with that. It's like, well, that makes sense. It sounds like the comms people could have done a little better job within the White House of talking to each other, but I'll just let that stay at that. Let me put it to you this way, though. I agree that this country is phenomenally vulnerable to China in a strategic sense, in a military sense, and in everything from pharmaceuticals to supply chains. Nevada's got a big deal with, we're a phenomenal lithium producer, but you got to be a processor too. And so if anybody thinks we're not in a varsity level contest with China, economically and militarily, then I would just humbly disagree.
How much of a concern have you had that tariffs could impact Nevada tourism, and does this new announcement kind of put you at ease a bit?
Well, listen, I would not recommend that anybody be at ease. It's like I would recommend that you continue to watch and, take deep breaths and stuff like that. Obviously, there will be effects on tourism depending on what the long term, which, I don't know, this week long term may be 2 weeks, what the effects are on that. So obviously we're going to keep our eyes peeled, especially in southern Nevada, where you've got F1 folks, you've got the Olympics in LA, which will certainly spill over into Las Vegas, as well as the usual stuff through the Harry Reid Airport and all those things. So it's like, hey, it's one of those things where our hospitality industry can never say mission accomplished. You got to get up every day and turn that crank.
I'm going to change topics. Governor Lombardo recently introduced the Nevada Housing Access and Attainability Act. How sustainable is this housing bill?
Well, I mean, obviously we're focusing on the potential to use federal land as one of the pieces of that puzzle, but it is not by any means, in my opinion, the largest piece of the puzzle. You've got to work with local governments, you've got to work with utilities, you've got to work with developers, because at some point in time, you have to have that demand to where the fact that supply is so much behind demand will keep those prices high no matter what. And so hats off to them for taking a grip and ownership of a problem that is not an easy thing to do, but we're all in for helping the state, Governor Lombardo, obviously, Senator Cortez Masto on the update of the Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act, all in, and so let's move that along as quick as we can.
What's your take on the recent attacks on Tesla drivers and dealerships in Las Vegas and around the U.S.?
You know what? I mean, I'm in the political business, and people disagree on politics all the time, but when you're going to say, no, I'm not going to tell you what the issue is or how I think we can solve that problem or something like that, have that discourse. If the discourse becomes, I'm going to burn you down, I don't know what you say to that other than, wow, that's a really interesting tolerance attitude on behalf of some people who used to stand for, we're the tolerant folks, and let's do, Martin Luther King, peaceful protests, whatever the heck. what's going on here? And listen, I'm not Elon Musk's protector, and I don't own a Tesla, but their right to basically pursue, their economic goals and their political. I mean, he's got as much rights to have a political view as anybody else does. So that intolerance is incredible, and I think ultimately it backfires.
Do you think that those who have taken part should face domestic terrorism charges?
Well, I don't know whether it's domestic terrorism or just good old garden variety criminal stuff, where it's if you do the crime, you're going to do the time. But and Nevada has a system where the higher the value, the more damage you do, that sort of stuff. Bottom line is it's a prosecution issue, which means you got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. But for those folks, they should be dealt with, whether you call them a terrorist or an arsonist or a whatever, is like they just need to be dealt with straight up for the felony level crimes that those are.
Do you think our country is heading in the right direction?
Yeah, I like the direction. That's a fair question. It's like, okay, so there's, everybody's kind of stirred up about one thing or another. It's like, would you rather have the status quo, another 4 years of what was going on before? Absolutely not.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.